GM, we are live, and we are in the lobby of a 30-second sprint. Skeletor, GM. Thank you so much for all your work getting the Tatecast Dynasty League rolling. I really appreciate your help there. It would have been pretty tough to get that moving without you. So thank you. I'm a couple minutes late because I was just wrapping stuff up, but finally, I think we're going to be able to get that off the ground today. So this is a 30-second sprint. Dirty P, BB Dog Walk, and I think you were the one that sent up the sprint bat signal in the chat. So I figured I would try to hop into that and see if we can't get that moving. If it really drags on, though, might have to hop out, but that would be cool if we could get that one moving. So we were a little out of sorts here just because I clicked go live and I didn't quite have everything set up. So we're getting this all sorted out on the fly. But I guess the big news in the world of best ball is the Jonnu Smith trade. And that was something that really to me felt like if it was going to happen, it would have happened a month ago. And instead it happened yesterday. And it was like very weird the way that the trade trickled out. First it was, Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins, and all the pieces of it just kind of slowly came out, and it seemed like the trade was 1-for-1, just a couple pieces in the secondary, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, Jonnu Smith's gone, and Pat Freiermuth is almost undraftable. Jonnu Smith has been falling. I think it sounds like the initial reaction is to drop him quite a few spots. So ends up being a what seemed like a couple defensive players is a fantasy relevant outcome. So we'll see. I mean, Jalen Ramsey still has some juice left in the tank. Obviously, Minkah Fitzpatrick began his career with the Dolphins. Famously got in all kinds of difficulty there in Miami. His wife was very vocal, tweeting about how she felt that he was undervalued. So it seemed like there was a lot of bad blood there, but now they're back. So we'll see. We will see how it goes. Dirty P says it felt like it may go. Petition the people. Well, Dirty P, let's see if we have enough sway to get this sprint filled. Let's see. I'll send out a few messages. Of course, now I'm seeing there's one more for a 20-second pit bull, but Dirty P, I will not abandon you for greener pit bull pastures. Let's see. Sprint +2. We'll tag Jewish McCaffrey. Why not? Actually, I don't know what his screen name is on Discord, so I'm actually not going to tag him. I thought it was just Jewish McCaffrey, but evidently it isn't. So we're still waiting for 2 on this one. Jamar and T are chomping at the bit to face Jalen Ramsey 2 times a year. I could see that happening. I mean, he is getting a little older, and it is funny sometimes with these corners, we tend to value the name. And I think it's a lot of it because of us. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but us, true fantasy slappies, we don't really concern ourselves with defense too much. And so when we know a few players, we kind of latch onto them and maybe assume they're good for longer than they are. And we'll see. Maybe that is the case with Jalen Ramsey, that he's not what he once was, and the Bengals go burr when they play the Steelers. But Fitzpatrick, I guess he's not that young, right? I think he was drafted in 2018, and that's that's 7 years ago now. It doesn't feel like 2018 should be that long ago, but I suppose it is. My optimism level for filling this sprint, Dirty P, is waning. I'm gonna be honest. I have my concerns that this is not going to fill, because I think you sent that message. A little while ago about there being 4 spots, and of course I made 3. All right, Dirty P, I'm gonna hop out of this one. I'm sorry. We'll see where we end up. I'm gonna see if that pit bull is still possible to fill. That was +1. If not, then I'll probably just join a BBM. I just don't want to make everyone wait here. Let's see. Did I fill it? Nope. Waiting for 11. So that one fired. Got to hop out of that, and I will hop into a 20-second BBM. Let's see what we can. Wow, this is waiting for 11 also. Not great. Not great. All right, let's see about a 30-second BBM, although that's probably even worse. I mean, I guess you can't worse than 11. Waiting for 5. So what's waiting for 4? Okay. All right. I guess I'll sit in this. We're now waiting for 3. So it seems like maybe this one will fill. This is a BBM, and see if we can't get this one off the ground. I'll let the Discord know that they're. When I say the Discord, I'm talking about Davis Maddox Discord. I just tend to hang out in there, and that's where, if you're trying to find me on Discord, that's probably the best place to look. +3 30-second BBM. All right. See if we can't get that moving. Don't even like that contest. Was just looking for those who do. Thanks, Dirty Pete. Yeah, I think the problem with that contest is it's so hard to fill it. It just seems like every time I want to do it, I can't. So I just like do something else. But I think it's like a nice piece to your sort of overall best ball portfolio where you're building pretty much the same as you would for like a BBM, maybe a little less focus on individual playoff games and more, kind of identifying teams you think have a better schedule. But, just eliminating that pod luck, which, for better or worse, right? I mean, I imagine the top 20 teams in the sprint are all going to look pretty similar to each other because it's going to be a lot of the same players. Whereas in BBM, you can end up with, if let's just say Jalen Hurts has a down week 15, and eliminates a lot of Hurts teams. Week 17, there's not going to be very many. Whereas, if Hurts has a bad week 15 but smashes week 16 and 17, then the winning teams are probably all going to be Jalen Hurts teams, and the top is going to look very similar. So I think it's good and bad. I think it just kind of changes some of the luck and the variance there. With all that said, let's get the Ducks moving. It's going to make the audio wonky for a second, but fear not, we will be okay. And please let me know if my audio sounds okay and if the Ducks are too loud or too soft. All right, I'm gonna go. No, I don't want to. I'm debating checking on this sprint. All right, let's see what the sprint's doing, just in case this is ready to go. It's waiting for 3. Okay, I'm leaving the sprint. We'll go back to. We'll just wait for this BBM, I guess. Got to think that Underdog is going to be adding some contests this week. That's what I think historically around the 4th they've started adding in some more contests. In other Underdog news, speaking of Underdog, I saw on Twitter that they had preemptively filed a lawsuit in California. I did not click to make sure that was actually real. So maybe I should do my own research first, but it was a very official looking filing, and the headline was that they were trying to sue the Attorney General there before they would release this judicial opinion saying that they thought fantasy sports was gambling, and because again that would be very bad if the California Attorney General says that in his opinion, fantasy sports constitute illegal gambling, then that means that they would take the stand that they would be within the rights to sue, the operators of fantasy sports platforms in that state. So even if, even if ultimately Underdog were to prevail, it would probably be some kind of very expensive, lawsuit. They could face, all kinds of legal ramifications. They could get fined, and in my opinion, they would probably just leave before that happened, and they would just pull out of the state. That's how I would see that kind of playing out. So, that would be not great, and it sounds like maybe Underdog is proactively trying to avoid that. I'm hoping that there can be enough sort of normie pressure. People love fantasy sports. People, making it illegal just benefits nobody. And and so hopefully we can, cooler heads can prevail, and they can leave well enough alone, because again, I think, a lot of, the tribal lobby is very powerful in California. They control all the gaming there. I think they're the ones who are pushing against some of these sort of sweepstakesy sites that I think they feel are taking away from gaming. But this is just a completely different animal here. I don't think, there's no competition between the tribal casinos and like what Underdog does with fantasy. So, again, sports betting is already illegal there. This would just be, taking away, people's enjoyment of something that's, generally, again, not an industry that that really is impacting anyone else. So let's just hope that that doesn't happen. But with all that said, Tiger Uppercut, GM, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Great to have you here. Let's see if we can't fill this. We have one more for a 30-second BBM here. Let's see. All right, I don't know why I thought I saw this flicker to fill, but not. We are still waiting for one more. That's what happens here. You're trying to fill a draft at 8 in the morning, and it doesn't always snap fill. But you know what? That's okay. I think as football season gets closer and we have some more smaller contests, we will. It was not hard to fill a poodle. It was not hard to fill a puppy. But again, I just missed the boat on a pit bull. I've been actually saving my pit bull, my remaining pit bulls for these morning drafts to try to get some of those in. But that was waiting for 11. Tiger Uppercut took way too much Firemouth. Yeah, I took more than I thought. I'm pretty close to 8% in both pre and post draft, which now feels like taking fancy Cole Kmet. Not the greatest feeling in the world. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a stone zero, but obviously, he's not going to be the guy we drafted him. I think my only solace is that I think I exclusively took Firemouth in 3 tight end builds, and not particularly early in drafts either. So again, it's not to say that he can't have the occasional spike week or be usable, but obviously this is bad. This is not what we took him for. Dirty Pete, tough road to hoe trying to ban sports gambling when every third ad is Kevin Hart spreading the fever. Yeah, man, the heyday of DraftKings and FanDuel, it was like every other ad was DraftKings, and they flew way too close to the sun in that era, and kind of put their head above the parapet and got hit with all kinds of stuff. Back in probably like 2016, 2017-ish, if I'm remembering right. It was crazy with how much they were advertising on real time. Hashtag QBs matter. Thank you again for coming in. As always, again, thank you for your support. And indeed, I agree. QBs do matter. Tiger Uppercut also took too much Kmet in the big and little board. Yeah, I took some Cole Kmet as well, and he got about as bad a run out as a tight end can get. Although I say that, but there is there's a chance if Loveland is not as healthy as we're hoping and does miss some time, then maybe Kmet can kind of bridge through, especially if you paired him with some rookies. Kmet can provide some early season production before the sort of Mason Taylor-y kind of late round tight ends get rolling. Your Arroyos, those kind of guys who might not be starting at the beginning of the season but take over at the end. So I think he could still represent some value, and again randomly could spike, in addition to the obvious contingent upside. There's not a lot of tight ends with true contingent upside, but I think Cole Kmet probably does have at least a little bit of that. Let me adjust my mic here. All right, so we got the 11 hole. I don't think I see anybody in here. This is a 30-second BBM. I've been doing mostly 20 seconds, so this will be kind of nice to get a little more time between picks. And picking at the turn gives quite a bit more time to talk to all of you, which is really the fun part of doing this. And let's just see what we can put together. I have been wanting to get some Derrick Henry in BBM, and I think this is the pick. I only have one share of Derrick Henry so far. that honestly feels not great just thinking about it. At worst, we're talking the goal line back in Baltimore, which is very valuable. And we're also talking about Derrick Henry, who can just be an absolute league winner, has been a league winner before, buried a lot of us last season who faded him. And, yes, he's another year older, but, until it happens, and until the music stops, I think we got to dance. And I think a total fade on Derrick Henry is not a position I want to start the season with. Again, especially because if he's healthy and your team makes it to the playoffs and you have Derrick Henry, are you going to be upset? Like, no, you're probably pretty darn happy. Anytime you see Derrick Henry, on your team, it's a pretty good feeling. So I think we'd like that. Henry here at 14 means he should be there at the turn, but we're going to play it by ear. I might actually take him at 11 and see what we get on the flip side, because to me it's a very flat tier between Amon-Ra, Nico, BTJ, and Drake London, and I think I can guarantee I get one of them if I just take Henry at 11, assuming Will Sleepyhead does not take him here. If not, it's okay. I'll just not get Derrick Henry again. But all right, so he takes Genty. I'm just going to take Henry here because if this player wants a running back, there's a decent enough chance they take Henry. I'm really into A-Chain. I think he's going to be a big beneficiary of the Jonnu news. I think he's absolutely a winner out of that trade. But I don't think I want to do Henry A-Chain, especially because I don't have a lot of Derrick Henry, and so that would just be kind of a weird combo if I'm trying to catch up my Henry shares. I don't want to be doing too much else that's crazy out of the ordinary. So Henry and Drake London go. I'll take Amon-Ra here. I think that's fine. I probably would have just taken Amon-Ra at 11 and gotten Henry at 14. So we get the players we want just in reverse draft order of normal, and we get to look like a boomer who took Derrick Henry in the first round. So I will pull up the board there. All right, Dirty P needs more Henry too. Very underweight lake pick positions. Yeah, I thought my issue was that I really like Drake London, so I took Drake London ahead of Henry most of the time. And when you do that, you're just going to get very little Henry. With that said, I love Drake London. I think I think there's a chance for him to lead the NFL in receiving this year. I don't think that would not shock me. He that could be a very pass happy offense in Atlanta. Michael Penix looked good. Michael Penix showed a really strong rapport with London. He hyper targeted him at the end of the season. Now Mooney was out, but there's no guarantee that even if Mooney is there, that London still isn't an absolute target monster. I like Mooney. I take quite a bit of Mooney, but I do think London certainly is a tier above. I mean, Mooney surprised a lot of us last season. I don't think he was, coming over from Chicago, he did have to deal with a lot of sketchy QB play, so we might have underrated what Mooney was a little bit. But I think, London, again, the pedigree that London has and what he's shown, I'm never upset to get another share of Drake London. But as it stands, we have started with Henry Amon-Ra. Watching the board, Huhames was discussing on his channel last night, and I agree with that about this helping the other elite receivers because we lost Jonnu we lost basically Jonnu and Firemouth where they went, right? Both are now going to go later. Firemouth is almost undraftable. So I think what that will do, and Huhames was making the point that it's going to increase the pressure on the more elite tier of receiver, of tight end. And I think that is a good point. It does make them slightly more valuable. So I don't know if that's if we're going to see that in the market. Obviously, before this, we had begun to see Bowers and McBride slipping. We're seeing McBride going into the third round here, which again at the beginning of the contest was not happening, but now is. So we'll see where McBride goes. I imagine he tends to go here to the Higgins drafter, unless they want MHJ, because a lot of people really do like that Cincinnati Arizona stack, and yeah, we see that makes sense. McBride does go to the Higgins drafter. That's pretty common there. People tend to pair Chase Chase and or Higgins with McBride and or Marvin Harrison Jr. So we see that happen. Tyreek Hill, another potential winner of the Jonnu Smith trade, going off at 27. He was going in the 30s. I think those days are done. He's going to start steaming up. It's all been good news for him. It seems like he's healthy. He's looking really fast in these these races that he's running. The news out of camp has been generally positive. And so, unless it's a full rebuild in Miami, right? Unless this is the start of the beginning of the end and Miami's trading people and they trade Hill away, if that happens, then obviously there's landing spot risk with Tyreek, depending on where that would end up. But if Miami just stands pat and they were really just getting rid of Jonnu because he was, a bit of a malcontent, then I think this is a big benefit for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle there. Coming over to us, I would have loved Garrett Wilson. It would have been a great fall for him. As it stands now, do we want a receiver or do we want to make this a Lamar and Henry team? I think I'm going to punt the decision and I'm going to take Mike Evans. I like Mike Evans. I could also potentially take J-Mo and make this just a very big bet on the Lions. I don't necessarily love doing that, just because that's a lot of draft capital into players there on the same team. I think I'm going to, however, take Lamar. My only concern is I think I did this the last time I took Derrick Henry, was take I'm going to take George Kittle. I'm going to do something a little different here. I really like George Kittle. He does not come around here. He would not be there at 59. I don't believe he's ever really fallen there in this contest. I think the Huhame's point is a cogent one where elite tight end might matter more now that Freiermuth is out. But again, I'm pretty sure my first Derrick Henry BBM team was a Lamar Henry team, and so I want to vary that. I don't want to do that every single time. So we'll take Kittle there. Again, a lot of good receivers. Passed on a lot of good receivers, but we should get somebody we like at 59 and 62. I think this range on this side of the board, there's a lot of different options you can go with running back and with receiver. So I'll take that one tight end detour. It's another spot where maybe I could have taken Laporta at 62 and then gotten Laporta Amon-Ra. I think, again, it's a tough call. It's not my favorite range in the board to do. I have not really brought Kittle up to the 11 hole much, but we'll see how that ends up. We will see. Sean Mitchell, GM, thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate the support. And Crander47, thank you so much for swinging in this morning. All right. So yeah, again, not sure how I feel about making that pick there, but I do generally like when I get Kittle. I think he opens up some nice flexibility to just end a team with two tight ends rather than three, so you can end up with what I think is my favorite build, which is 3-6-7-2. Otherwise, I like building 3-5-7-3. I think 7 receivers I tend to feel pretty comfortable, and there's a couple. I'm generally happy with some of the late round receiver adds you can make here. If I invest the early draft capital in running back, then I can take a few more swings at quarterback and tight end. But again, Kittle is nice because I can play it. I can play it very. I have multiple options there at how I play the tight end position. We see the one hole taking no chances. He takes Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, and then adds Joe Burrow to his team. I think that makes sense. When you have two Bengals there, is it really worth the push? The other thing that can be nice when you do the Bengals card stack like the 2-hole did here is this, between 95, 96, you can get Kyler Murray there pretty frequently. His ADP is a little ahead of that, but he is there often enough to where, if you get frozen out at Burrow, you can then end up with the other side of that game, and are pretty happy with how that ends up. A whole heap of quarterbacks here at the of running backs rather at the top of the queue. I think I have Hubbard kind of head and shoulders ahead of the other selections here. And then after Hubbard, if I can get Juwan Jennings, that might be nice to get a couple of Niner pieces. Otherwise, I really high on RJ Harvey. I think RJ Harvey is an RB3 is kind of incredible. It's been nice to have him fall. But Odunze, Jennings, really strong. Kamara makes sense. So again, I'm going to be happy with whoever I end up with in this range. My next pick will be at 83 and 86. And if I look at the board, that's going to be your kind of Mooney, Hawkinson would be there. So it gets a little thin. It gets a little thin if we don't get a faller in one of these running backs. Interesting choice here, whether we go Jennings or Harvey. I think my inclination is going to be Harvey, and then maybe lean into this running back firepower. I like Henry and Hubbard quite a bit, especially early season. I think they're going to be awesome. Harvey, if he comes on late, that's going to be nice, and then hopefully we can catch up at receiver. Jennings, though, was very tempting there, and then this would likely be a Brock Purdy priority team. ATX Bearcat GM, thank you so much for coming by this morning. This is a 30-second BBM. One of the rare 30-second BBMs we could fire, but I had to abandon that sprint lobby because it wasn't moving. And the 20-second Pitbull and 20-second BBMs were both waiting for 11. So this one we just waited long enough, and we were able to fire up. So far, the audio listeners, we have a 0-3-2-1 with Henry, Hubbard, and Harvey at running back, Amon-Ra and Mike Evans at receiver, and then George Kittle holding down the tight end room there. This is a position where we could potentially take Baker. If we want to, potentially lean into that, we could do a Baker Egbuka double tap. I haven't really done that too often, but I think that's a possibility. My other quarterbacks would be Goff. Right now would be the only real option. I think Goff goes at 118, which would perfectly line up with us picking. I guess not perfectly. It would be a little early. It would be at 110 or 107. So that's an option. If we want to push quarterback, I think that's fine. My inclination would probably be to take two wide receivers in this next range versus a quarterback, but I guess we're just going to have to see what the room hands to us when the board comes around. Purdy, I think Purdy goes around pick 100. Purdy goes at 103, so a chance maybe to get a falling Purdy, although I guess the Hurts drafter is the one who took Jennings, so maybe there's a possibility that that he passes on Purdy. I think that's good for us if we're considering whether we can get Brock Purdy. I don't think Ricky Pearsall has gone yet, so we can see where Pearsall goes, and we can kind of plan accordingly whether we're going to prioritize Baker, Goff, or Brock Purdy. What number are you on? I think this is actually number 50. I'm pretty sure this is my 50th BBM here. So yeah, it's either 50 or 51. I can't remember if I ran a Pitbull or a BBM last evening to get there. But yeah, we're on the home stretch. It's July. Training camp, I think, is like 15 days away, if I'm not mistaken. It's around 2 weeks. Or maybe it is just 2 weeks from today. Either way, we're getting down to the thick of it, and I'm sure Underdog's going to be launching some new contests, which will be nice. Get us some different options out there. It is a little limited right now. I think they're probably trying to get the Superflex puppy to fill. I really like the Superflex. When it opened, told myself I was going to max it, and then about 4 days into it, I was like, I don't know what it was. It just wasn't that much fun anymore. I think maybe the rooms got a lot sharper. The quarterbacks the sort of later quarterbacks you could take just started going earlier and earlier. It felt like I was just kind of building the same teams a lot, and that could just be a skill issue, right? It's not really a game that I played a whole ton of, but it kind of cooled my interest in the Superflex puppy ever so slightly. It would be too much to hope for that Ricky Pearsall fell to us. I would love that. Sam Laporta is always tempting to me. Going double elite tight end would be something I think is not done very much in BBM. It's something I did a lot in the big board because I felt like you could get a lot more receiver value late with the rookies who I think are underdrafted there. But again, I think it is disfavored here. With that said, okay, so Sam Laporta goes. He takes that off the board. Pearsall and Golden are two of my favorite clicks. Stephon Diggs, I think if Pearsall goes, I'll probably add Steph Diggs to the team. Brandon Ayuk is a guy I am just virtually completely out on. He's probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. I don't really like him that much anyway. Wow, he takes Aaron Jones. So we do get Pearsall. I think that's nice. I think this is a really fortunate fall. This takes away someone else who might try to take Brock Purdy, so it increases the chance he'll be there a couple picks past ADP. So I love that. I don't have much Khalil Shakir. Maybe that's a little bit of a blind spot, but I personally rate Diggs and Mooney pretty significantly ahead of Shakir. The other option I could do, though, is I could take Igbuka. So I think it would be Diggs, Mooney, and then Igbuka. I pass on Shakir. I could end up with a Tampa Bay double. You get a Tampa Bay double, which is kind of fun, I have to say. Interesting choice here. So Shakir goes. I'd really like to do this Igbuka thing because I don't get that too often, but I think the value on Diggs is way too much to pass up here. Getting him a little past ADP, he's a guy that we can stack with Drake May, so he opens up another potential QB stack. Drake May goes at 117, so it would be a little bit of a reach for us because I don't think we'd. He occasionally falls, but most of the time not, especially with just how much of a popular pick May is. I can't imagine him being there at 131, but at least now we have the opportunity for that. So to recap the team, 0-3-4-1 with Henry, Hubbard, and RJ Harvey, Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, and Steph Diggs at receiver with George Kittle at tight end. So not too bad. Maybe it would have been nice to get one of those Chicago pieces as a Week 17 bring back for our Niners stack. But again, I did not think we were going to get Pearsall coming around here. ATX Bearcat loves all the other side contests they've been putting out. Yeah, I like the sprint format. I mentioned earlier. I think it's fun, right? I think it's if you're thinking of best ball as a portfolio, then I think the sprints have a place in there because they eliminate pod luck. They create a different form of luck. I was mentioning earlier, I think the winners, the top 20 teams, are all probably going to be pretty similar looking. Whereas, in BBM, it can be a little more varied because with pod luck, you could have players that smash in week 17 don't make it to week 17 because they had a bad week 15 or a week 16. But, you can squeak those teams through. I think if there's, a player that just goes absolutely wild in the last game or two, all the winning teams are going to have them. So you could end up with some I think it could end up with a lot of very similar roster constructions, which, kind of changes pod luck into a sort of different form of luck, like whether you just created a team like that, whether that's what you landed on. So I think it just sort of swaps some of the variants around. But with all that said, I think it is I think it is kind of a fun format and something I want to be doing more. Dirty P is currently drafting Superflex 144. We'll draft BBM 80 with Chad Candles Wednesday morning. Love to hear it. I will be on tomorrow and Thursday. Programming note: I will not be drafting Friday. Just going out of town for the 4th. So I apologize. I will not be there. But just to let you all know, the 4th there will not be a stream. I'll see if I can hop on during the weekend. I want to hop on the weekends at different times, but I just haven't been able to swing that lately. Let's see what is coming around to us. So Brock Purdy will be the priority. I know Homie Claus has a quarterback, so Purdy unfortunately goes he goes to the Ayuk drafter. All right. Well, that's a little unlucky there that we did not get that. So let's look at our next QB options. I'm on Raw, so we could take. I'm almost inclined to do a Drake May Amon Ra double tap. I don't know what people think of that, but if I don't take both quarterbacks, let's see, this guy, he has Odunze, he doesn't have any Lions or let me just make sure I'm not missing any kind of like obvious ADP value. Rashad Bateman makes a little bit of sense to pair with Henry. But I think I want to just do a May Goff double tap. And then if we have to end this at 2 QBs, I think that's going to be fine. Drake May is more likely to go unstacked than Goff there. Hump day BBM with my guy. Well, I'm looking forward to it, Dirty P. I will definitely be running a BBM or two tomorrow morning. Still +4 to sprint. Yeah, the sprints are so tough to fill, especially at off hours. So Colston Loveland goes again. This is a pretty nice fall on Travis Kelce, but again, if I take Shaheed, that opens up Show. Beyond that, the receiving area is grim. I mean, Kirk, I guess, technically opens Stroud, but let's just take Jared Goff here. We'll do the QB double tap near the turn. So now we have a 2-3-4-1 with Drake May, Jared Goff, running back room of Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, RJ Harvey, wide receiver room of Amon Ra, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Steph Diggs, and George Kittle. So not too bad. Like the team, I think I would definitely prefer Purdy to Goff, but that didn't come together, and we will just roll with the punches. Who Hames, GM, sup fam? Who Hames, I was telling the people you had on your stream yesterday, we're talking about elite tight end potentially being a big beneficiary of the Jonnu trade, and I agree with that. I think you made some good points on your stream, and I actually pushed George Kittle up to 38. Again, when you're drafting at this point, the only elite tight end that really lines up with you if you pass on Bowers is then TJ Hawkinson. And I find myself getting a lot of Hawkinson. So, I pulled Kittle over to this side of the board. Opinions, I suppose, may vary on whether that's good, but I do think that was a good point you had made about the tight ends. Yeah, Dirty P throwing up the Who crew symbol, the owl. Who Hames fans are legions, and rightfully so. Who Hames, one of the good ones there, and really one of the more enjoyable streams out there. All right. Let's see. So Justin Herbert, did he go to the lad guy? No, the lad guy passed on Herbert because he had Jaden Daniels, and he took Dak to pair with Lamb. Okay, yeah. All right. So that makes sense why Lad did slip, or excuse me, why Herbert did slip there. Just trying to keep track of everything. As far as for me, let's think how this team is going to build out. Again, with Kittle, was talking about potentially just ending this at 2 tight ends. 131. I think we're going to start seeing some of these other tight ends get pushed up, like your Njokus and your Crafts. I definitely could see those guys rising with the departure of Jonnu from this range. Of course, Jonnu going at 120. I think he's going to fall further than that, but Tate Cow takes him there. Of course, Jonnu Smith now opens up the potential backstack with Aaron Rodgers. Let's see. I don't think he's the Metcalf guy. No, he's not. But now, I guess that just changes the potential stacking partners there. For me, I pretty much could take any position I want. Unlikely to take a quarterback unless there's some kind of crazy value. I probably would take Kraft there. I mean, I could potentially try to do a Lovecraft and get 3 QBs. I don't know if that's forcing QBs a little too much. I am feeling a little bit thin at wide receiver. Kyle Williams has been a big faller. I'm pretty out on Kyle Williams. I'm worried that we're spending a lot for the sort of wide receiver 4 or even 5 in New England. Now, not a prospect I was that excited about to begin with, but I do have Drake May. So if I'm ever going to take Kyle Williams, this team does make sense. Rashad Bateman, again, if he comes around, I would definitely take Bateman there. I think that would be a huge value. B-Man agrees and takes Bateman himself. There goes Kyle Williams there. So interesting. Did Love go? Did I miss that? I think I did. No, what's going on here? I am going crazy. All right, I guess Love did go. All right, so we are on the clock here. I'm somewhat inclined to take Kincaid here as a bring back to Drake May. I do like some of these other tight ends. I like Warren, but I'm generally not like the most rookie QB centric guy, so I'm going to take Kincaid there because I think I can end with Kittle and Kincaid if I want. As far as receivers, I don't get very much Christian Kirk there. Maybe I'll just take Marvin Mims and just add to this little bet we have on Denver. I think that's fine. These running backs are all pretty much contingent bets. I guess that's not true. Tajay Spears has some standalone value, maybe more than some of the other guys we get later. But I do like Marvin Mims here. I think I would like to add another receiver. Your sort of classic veteran best ball kind of spike week player. So we'll add Mims to the team. So we are now up to a 2-3-5-2 team. We've sort of held our fire on running back since taking Henry, Hubbard, and Harvey. And again, we'll see if this ends up being a 3 QB or a 2 QB team. With May and Goff, this could certainly line up as a 2 QB team. I don't necessarily need to force anything late unless something good comes back to us. But yeah, maybe a question that leaving the door open for some different late receivers and quarterback stacks would have been better, and then taking like a Tajay Spears. If the coach speak is right and that's more of a 50-50 split, then Spears is going to have decent enough standalone value to fill in some lineups. He's a guy that I did not take early. Did not take much of him in the big board, thinking that Tennessee was live to add somebody, and they really didn't add anybody with any real draft capital. It was I forget who they took. They took another not Manungai. Who is it? It's where are you? Khalil Mullings. There we go, Mullings. Who, he doesn't even have an ADP. He's taken so rarely. So I do think that Spears is pretty live and is somebody that I'm happy to add in that range if I need a tight end. But let's pull the board back up. Draft starting to move a little quicker here, I think. Nobody doing anything too crazy, it doesn't look like. I think most teams still only have 2 quarterbacks. Nobody out here yet with just one, and not looking like anybody is wildly overstacking any positions. I guess these 2 are pretty light on receiver. I guess the one hole only has, he only had 3. He now takes Cedric Tillman, who's a guy that I like, who I think is one of these guys in this kind of wide receiver dead zone that we've created that feel better about than others. It's a little early for Wan'Dale Robinson, I must say, but again, we are in the proverbial $1 auction player range, to where it kind of doesn't matter who we get. Hames, I like Mullings as a prospect, but he fell to a rough landing spot. I could see him being the goal line TD stealer, though. Yeah, I was taking Mullings in the big board, but it does feel like he got kind of buried. But yeah, I mean, you never know. He could, if I haven't really heard it, I feel like I haven't heard anything about him from camp, but he could be a potential drumbeat guy, because both Pollard and Spears are not the most healthy guys on the planet. So maybe he's a pick on like DraftKings in a 20-round draft. I might sprinkle him into that like super late contingency upside range. Maybe if we hear a little more. Huhames, though, the staff has mentioned wanting to use 3 running backs this year. Well, yeah, in that case, then maybe he does start to become draftable. Interesting thought there. So I wasn't going to take a third quarterback, but I do feel like Bryce Young does make a certain amount of sense on this team. This is a pretty darn thin range here. I don't take much Jaden Blue. You know what? Maybe we'll take Isaac Guerendo here. I know we didn't get Purdy, but Guerendo, if he really is the backup in San Francisco, then that's somebody I do not want to be out on. So we'll take Guerendo. There goes Roshan. I think I'd probably take Romeo Doubs here if Doubs comes to us. I'll take Doubs again. Is he the most exciting click on the board? Certainly not. But I will. I'll just add him here as a 6th receiver. Somebody I think is at least going to have a job in Green Bay. Whereas it's the wide receivers here are now at a very speculative point in the draft. Maybe Demario Douglas would have been a better pick. Thinking about it, he's been getting some good coach speak. He's been somewhat of a blind spot for me, but perhaps he would have been a better click than either Guerendo or Doubs. All right, DQ105. Thanks so much for coming by this morning. Hello to you too. Hope you're having a nice start to your day. Huhames, Mullings, never draft Mullings, and JCB, same situation. IMO, worst prospect. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So JCM. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I take some Ja'Cory Krosky merit on DraftKings. Again, I think in 20 round, 20th pick, guys that are not drafted in every draft, there is something to be said for them. I think I can't tell if you're saying to the point to not take both of them or to not take Mullings there. It's okay, Huhames. It's early. I meant JCM drafted some Mullings, never taken, and it's the same situation and capital. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Again, I don't make those bets in like BBM because you're very much taking likely to be taking a 0 there. Whereas, maybe in August, if we start getting some word that they've at least made the team and are not going to be game day inactives, then is probably the time to sprinkle those guys in versus now when one or both of them could legitimately be practice squad players. JT Best Ball, what's up? GM, thank you so much for coming by. Appreciate your support. JT Best Ball out there in the streaming streets as well, and he is certainly worth a follow and a sub over there. Huhames, yeah, and BBM absolutely not a time box. Why not? Yep, and I think that's a great point and a good distinction, right? Because if it turns out that those guys are live, taking them in BBM now, you're not going to get any edge. Whereas if you're taking them in, maybe the Pitbull. Which could be a bad example. The Pitbull might be open for another few weeks, but like the Poodle, for example, that just closed. If they are, someone that's a useful fantasy player, you're going to have an edge because they're taken so rarely. So yeah, it is good to kind of think about how you build these contests a little differently. So coming up to us. Let's see. I think Hunter Henry would be the pick. That way we will lock this in as a 2 QB team. I could take Sam Darnold, but again, I think that would just be forcing a third quarterback for third quarterback's sake. I don't know that I need to do that. Right. Oh, there goes Hunter Henry. That's a little unfortunate. I don't take a ton of Cade Otton without Baker Mayfield, but maybe we do take Otton. We do have Mike Evans on this team. Likely though, I'll take Jalen Wright first if he falls. I think Jalen Wright makes sense, in Miami. I don't think A-Chain's going to get absolutely everything. It seems right now like Wright is the sort of 2 there, and gives me a little teensy fig leaf of a bring back on Mike Evans for week 17 stuff. So let's see if we can get Cade Otton. If Cade Otton goes, maybe Sanders and Allen are just better picks than Otton. Sanders is actually, weirdly enough, a pretty big upside swing, trying to get the Dallas, spike the Dallas running back. But we'll see. Clearly, Homie Claus there agrees with Braylon Allen potentially being a good pick. If he goes, then, I don't think I want to take Dowdle and Hubbard. Although I'm not super opposed to doing that. I think Dowdle goes so late that's not actually the worst move. You know what? I'm gonna do the handcuff thing. I'm gonna do the handcuff thing because I was kind of between 5 and 6 running backs on this team with Henry, Hubbard, and Harvey. I'll take a shot on Dowdle. If it is more of a 1-2 punch, then they could be kind of ping-pongy. Maybe we see them with slightly different roles. Miles Sanders, again, he is a nice swing, but I do find myself taking a bunch of him. I'd be interested to see what you all think there. Maybe that was a misstep, but again, these late tight ends, I like quite a few of them, so I'm fine if I don't. I'm fine without Otton there on this team. So this will probably be a 2-6-7-3 team. All right, Dirty P. I just straight sniped the Lamar guy on Andrews. Be the villain. I had Packers. You've got to do it. You cannot worry about what other people think. You got to draft for yourself. And yeah, week 17 Packers. I want that game to be fun, but I worry it's going to be an absolute slog, that Packers Ravens game. But hopefully it's a little exciting. I'm actually kind of in on the Packers potentially passing more than they did last year, especially Love played a lot of the season hurt, and even when he came back, he still was not quite as mobile or elusive as he was early in the season. So I'm leaving the door open for a little more excitement in Green Bay than maybe than some of the projections are giving us. JT Best Ball Pitbull is already 60%. Crazy how quick some of the tournaments are filling. Yeah, the thirst is real. The Best Ball thirst is real, and I think they're going to drop some more contests today. I just have a hunch. Dirty P IMO, you can't snipe weapons. Yeah, I think that's fair. You can't be mad when someone takes Mark Andrews. He's just such a good player. Is today ship chasing? Is that happening today? I feel like they go on at 10. So we got one pick left. So I'm gonna hop right into a 30-second BBM. See if we can't get that wrapped up before they go live. So I'll start recapping the team. We've got a 2-6-6-2 with May and Goff at QB, Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, RJ Harvey, Isaac Rendo, Jalen Wright, Rico Dowdle. Wide receiver room of Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Steph Diggs, Marvin Mims, Romeo Doubs, and then George Kittle and Dalton Kincaid holding down the tight end room. No cute late QB options. Don't want to take A-Rich. Don't have any need for Show or Dart on this team. We'll probably just take our favorite late round tight ends here. For me, I think it's Juwan Johnson. Maybe I would say Jatavion Sanders. I would probably just break this tie to a bye week. Dalton Schultz is still here, but I'm really just I do not like Dalton Schultz very much. So I'm going to I'll queue up Juwan Johnson. But with that said, I think I'll just take a Yoshi Voss share first. I don't really need to take an Isaac Tesla. I think Yoshi Voss is perfectly fine. He adds in a little bit of a different bye week for me. He seems like he's going to be out there on the field, and maybe he takes a step forward over there in Cincinnati. So let's see. We will take either Juwan Johnson or Jatavion Sanders, depending on what Homie Claus does. And we will wrap it up with Juwan Johnson for a classic 2-6-7 2. All right, I'm just going to hop right into it now. Let's try to get into a 20-second BBM so that we can wrap this up by 10. And oh my God, it just snap filled. I'm sorry. I wanted to be able to draft with everybody. But this, as you saw, it snap fired on me. So I apologize. But at least this way, I think this will finish in 30 minutes. Dirty P, my kind of team, Chad. Dirty P, I'm glad you like it. I am glad you like the team. I think it's fine. I have a tendency to force 3 QB, so I'm glad I didn't there. It really didn't make much sense on that team, just kind of the way it shook out. Sometimes on the turn, you can end up with a falling stack you like. Like I probably would have jammed a Lovecraft stack had that been there. But just taking a late Bryce Young, yeah, just didn't feel like that was the draft to do it in. At who? It's a super flex. I'm at the 1. He's at the 2. Cold. Yeah, cold world. No blanket. Dirty P. You gotta do what you gotta do. Noah Gray share DQ 105. I don't take much Noah Gray, and maybe I do worry that even when Kelsey was out, it wasn't like we saw Noah Gray like really absorb that role. I think Noah Gray is fine. Maybe again he's more of like a DraftKings 4th tight end kind of pick. I don't do a lot of 4 tight end, but if I do, I do it over on DK, and so I don't mind that. I just think he's a little bit thinner of a bet than some of the other late tight ends here. But I'm certainly open to I'm certainly open to opening my third eye to Noah Gray. I'm just going to draft Saquon Barkley at 4. I don't know what else to say. He's he's awesome, and just fading him is I think just trying to be right. I do not think on a half-point PPR format that a Saquon Barkley fade is really good process. I think you're telling yourself a story that he gets injured and you're just really hoping that's what happens. Because it's more, he's not the most fun player, right? Like I don't want to say he's not fun to watch because he randomly breaks off 80-yard runs and that's super fun. But just like watching him and the Eagles are driving and then the ball's inside the 5 and you're just like, oh my God, like this is so annoying. Barkley had 40 yards on that run, 40 yards on that drive, 0 carries, so he's only got me catches, he's only got me 4 fantasy points, and now they're about to give everything to the tush push. So he can be a little bit of a frustrating fantasy watch, but I think he's going where he should be this season. JT Best Ball says, do what you do. I'm often worried about you morning streaming guys starting. Push on through when you feel like streaming harder. There's so much crossover anyway. That's fair. JT Best Ball. I don't like to stream on the channels that have like allowed some like cross promotion. Like Pete has his self-promotion channel, and I know I've gotten some viewers from that, and Davis lets me post when I'm going live, so I know I'm not going to take away viewers from them. I'm not that arrogant. I know that's not it, but it's just more the matter of principle. There's a few drafters that I just would rather not. When everything is in the middle of August when like everybody's on, maybe it'll be a different story. But for right now, I feel like, plus it gives me a natural breaking point, or I'll just like keep talking all day and ignore the other stuff I got to do. So we've got Saquon, and I guess I'll go Saquon, Jonathan Taylor. We're gonna go robust RB on this draft and see how we can land the plane. Was a little bit tempted to take Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is going to be screaming up the board. I know his ADP now is 27. I will be shocked if he's actually there at 27. If he is, I will just jam him in. But for me, the over/under on him is going to be like 26. I think his new ADP. I think the turn is pretty solidified because you just like Higgins and the Cardinals are just kind of occupying this space. So maybe that is kind of going to be a sell wall for where Tyreek ends up going. But I don't know. I think he's going to be really darn close to the 1-2 turn. Yeah. So he goes at 24, which is again not surprising. I think that's just going to be his new price. Dirty Pete, love it. But if you want a guy, I sometimes if the person in the 2-hole or in the 11-hole, like if they get sniped by the turn, it's like, no, you should have taken your guy. That was on you. You did not get your guy, and now you're upset. All right, so I take a lot of Garrett Wilson in this spot. Maybe I will take, though, a Marvin Harrison share on this team. You know what? No. I like this start. I don't get this start much. I'm going to take my guy and get Garrett Wilson here. I think Garrett Wilson's target share is going to be absolutely astronomical in New York this season. And, you know, I've heard a lot of really good debate on the Garrett Wilson stuff. You know, just that the overall passing volume in New York is going to be, you know, extremely low. But with that said, I think, you know, some of the projections I saw had Wilson at like 28 to 30% target share. And honestly, I think it could be 35 and up. I think we could see just absolutely crazy hyper targeting. In certain game environments, I could really see Wilson just having some of those just absolutely nutty fantasy weeks. And the other thing that's nice about Wilson is he does line up with Fields. You know, I got him here at 28, so I can take Fields at 93. I probably, you know, if I'm in a position where I want Fields, probably won't try to push him to pick 100. I guess we'll have to just see what's on the board and what other people in the draft are doing. Big, not bug. Sorry, just woke up. No worries, JT. We're all just getting started today. We are all just getting started. DQ105. People getting bored with Barkley. Who Ames is comfortable fading Barkley? Well, Who Ames is a braver man than I. I'm a little more keen on that on DK, where weirdly enough he seems to go at 2 even more than on Underdog because he just doesn't catch very many passes. But just like counting on losing, you know, efficiency and volume, just because he had so much mileage, like that Eagles offense is so good and their offensive line is so good. Like I just have a real trouble just ending up with below market on Saquon. I mean, I don't want to be like crazy above 8%. Like I just want to have my normal 8-ish% plus or minus 2 with the kind of pick variance you get. And I will admit to having taken Jefferson ahead of Saquon a couple times because it is more fun. You know, Jefferson is the more fun pick, and also, you know, there's an argument to be made that, you know, Jefferson and like Bucky is a better combo than like Saquon and Higgins, or, you know, obviously that didn't line up exactly in this draft, but that sort of 2v2 that you can run. I think those are like more than legitimate questions to have, but, you know, I do think even those are still pretty close and, you know, give me a lot of pause to a full fade. I really like JMO here. I think this is a big drop between JMO and whoever is below him here. He takes JMO. Kind of knew that was coming. Kittle is interesting. Man, I'm gonna try it, guys. I'm going to try to take George Kittle here. See what happens. Push receiver. I would love Jalen Waddle. He would be right before ADP, but Waddle is kind of moving up pretty quickly. If not, Travis Hunter is a bring back on Jonathan Taylor, but Hunter's a faller and is not a guy I'm super excited about. Yeah, there goes Waddle. I knew it was too much to hope for Waddle. I was hoping we might get some stale ADP, some stale ADP goodness, but we did not. Let's see. There goes Sutton. I think the pick for me would be Ridley over Hunter and Pickens. I'm pretty bullish on Calvin Ridley. I think Hubbard would be fine as well, but let's try to catch up at receiver. I like Calvin Ridley quite a lot as the number one over there in Tennessee with pretty limited competition. behind him. So again, I would have been really thrilled to get Waddle, but of course, B-Man has to be a big piggy and take all of the Dolphins receivers there at the 1 hole. So he goes Hill and Waddle and takes that from me. One spot going to be a lot of Cincinnati, Arizona Dolphins. Yep, 100%. Yeah, and the Bengals Dolphins Week 16 matchup is yeah, you're right. Hill is absolutely going to get sucked up into the 2-3 turn. Mike Robb, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by, asking if I use rankings. If so, by who? There's 2 sets of rankings I use, and I gotta be honest, I don't know whose are in now, and whoever they are, they're fairly old. I haven't updated them. First is Davis Maddock. I subscribe to his Patreon and use his rankings. I really like the Maddock rankings. I think they're well thought out. I tend to agree with them. And then Fanspeak Network, their Substack. Steve and Meg, both of them put out rankings. They each have their own individual rankings. I like their rankings too, both of them, and they do differ in some unique ways. So those are the rankings that I use right now. I'm really just going off of ADP and vibes, and not really using the ranks that are in there. I try to vary, when I build, whether I'm using someone's ranks as a sort of tiebreaker or guideposts, or if I'm just going off of my own. And so for today, I'm just kind of going by ADP. DQ 105, Chase Hill, Higgins, Waddle, Hurts, or Burrow feels so clean from the 1 spot. Yeah, those teams are starting to look really, really sharp. Dirty P agreeing with Best Ball. Who says touches, Eagles having no injuries on O-line, Madden cover. So many chances for it to fall apart. I love the throwing in the Madden cover. It's a good bit. Fortunately, I think it was somewhat disproven. I can't remember who it was that went through it healthy, whether it was Brady or there was, I think a position player or two has survived, but certainly the Madden curse was real. As a Dolphins fan, are you happy? That's a great question. First of all, no. I'm never happy as a Dolphins fan. They haven't made me happy my entire life. If you're talking specifically about the Jonnu Smith trade, the answer is also no. I like Jonnu Smith. It felt like he was a nice safety blanket for McDaniel. They built the entire plane out of Jonnu at the end of the season, but it seemed like that relationship had just kind of fallen apart. So it is a little unfortunate, but yeah. Crossface, yo, and Lay the House RM, our king, Lay the House RM. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Let's see what we can dig up here as we try to catch up at receiver. I'm just gonna take Chris Godwin here. I know Ricky Pearsall would be a nice pairing with Kittle, but I think Godwin really is a pretty big tier break. Obviously the risk with Godwin is he healthy? Godwin would have been super nice had I had some Dolphins, but of course that didn't happen. Week 17 game we're excited about there. I think Godwin to me represents a bit of a I like him way better than Myers, and then some of these other guys I'm into, but not kind of taking them more at market. So the question for us is, are we going to take a receiver or running back? Our next pick will be 93, where I really probably going to take Justin Fields unless he gets sniped, and then pick 100. The wide receivers around pick 100 are pretty grim, but Higgins, exciting rookie if he's there. Coleman, I like. I've warmed up to Coleman potentially making a year 2 breakout, and Trey Harris. So there would be a receiver for me there at pick 100. So let's plan on maybe taking Caleb Johnson if he's here. I like Caleb. I think he's a little more of a swing than David Montgomery is. So we'll take Caleb. I know there's been some debate whether the Jonnu trade is good or bad for Caleb, or if it's good for Warren instead. Heard a lot of different points, a lot of really interesting discussion. My hope is just maybe this is the 60 IQ take, that it just becomes a rising tide thing. If Pittsburgh's offense is better because they have Jonnu, then maybe there's more touches inside the 20, and I think Caleb's going to dominate those. So I'm just going to kind of not try to go on a granular play-by-play personnel take, which obviously, I think there's some really interesting debate, but just sort of zooming out on the chart, I think if we think this makes Pittsburgh offense better, then this is going to benefit Caleb Johnson there. So to quickly recap the team for the audio listeners, 0-3-3-1, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Caleb Johnson at running back, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, and George Kittle at receiver. So hopefully catching up at receiver a little bit. I mean, Godwin, we're getting a nice discount because of health concerns. Ridley, I mean, this is like a pretty surefire 1,000-yard receiver if Ward is competent, and obviously I say all this health concerns or injuries can happen or whatnot, but I really like Ridley. I really like having shares of Ridley, but again, Waddle and Sutton probably maybe a slight tier break there, but we'll see. This also opens up Cam Ward as a potential late QB add. Lay the House RM says, this music has 70s porno vibes. Well, unfortunately, Lay the House RM, it is the royalty-free, copyright-free music that that StreamYard offers to us. They have a very limited array of musical choices for us. I can switch it up. I'll let me put on one called Night Driving, and maybe this is maybe this is driving home after the shoot. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know. I thought it was the wrong channel. Yeah, no, this is Wake Up Best Ball, not Best Ball. The sort of after dark. You can ask questions about Best Ball or dating advice. Where we'll see if that goes. But I don't think people would tune in for the latter. But let's see what is coming to us. So Fields is there. Baker is there. We'll see if they come to us. Man, Pacheco, that's a nice little fall on Pacheco. He's not been in the 90s lately. But let's see. So there goes Pacheco. I like Cooper Kupp quite a bit. This is an interesting choice for us. Do we take Baker or Fields if this guy does not take either one? So he takes Etienne. Very interesting stuff. I'm gonna take Baker here. I'll take Baker and I might just double tap and take Fields. Let's see what the room gives to us. Is that pushing receiver too much though? It could be. I don't have as much Baker as I want, and I think Baker does make sense when you have him with Godwin there. So let's see what happens. The Ducks and Night Drive live in my head. You guys need to hire a DJ. Yeah, I know. We need to talk to StreamYard support and see about getting some new music there. I know Hames had someone who is a musician make some music for him. I know you did that for a stream or two, and I thought that was pretty cool. So, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see if we can upgrade the music for people. But these are like the only two that you can have in the background from StreamYard that aren't extremely distracting. B-Man, by the way, my God, what a piss boy. He has now taken 7 receivers through 6 rounds and then takes Mark Andrews. My goodness gracious me. Yeah, so I don't know if he was trying to push Joe Burrow. Maybe he didn't even want Burrow. So he doesn't take him. Very interesting there. Maybe he's just really holding out for Tua. Let's see what's on the board. Oh man, they have the same bye week. Yeah. I'm not going to pass Justin Fields here. We're just going to do it. We're going to live a little, and we're going to take Baker and Fields there. And we're really just going to lean into Saquon Taylor at running back and then make up wide receiver with volume. The other option, I'll just make a footnote. Brock Purdy was there to pair with Kittle, but I think pairing Wilson with Fields is a lot of QB firepower on this team. It is unfortunate I can't stop at 2 because of the bye weeks. I'm going to have to add somebody late to the team. We'll see who we can reasonably add. Again, I think this draft has been kind of fun because there's been some questions as far as what to do. Maybe this is Cam Ward would be the third quarterback on this team, or potentially just somebody who we think is going to come on stronger later in the season. I don't think a third quarterback on this team would be like a Daniel Jones, because we need a week 9 bye fill-in. So that would, push us more towards like a Jackson Dart kind of pick if we're talking about somebody that we think is going to play late, or a Tyler Show. I mean, Tyler Show is more live to play, the full season than Dart is, but there is still a chance that it's Rattler to open and then it moves to Show. But man, if Show can't beat out Spencer Rattler in training camp, it is grim. Dirty P, living in a world where the returns never diminish, 6 receivers through 7. I just have such a hard time drafting that way. Like, I don't think you need to just like build your every position player on your roster before you take backups. But I mean, you can only start 4 receivers in a given week, and you get to week 17, and then 4 out of your first 8 picks or 3 out of your first 8 picks are just guaranteed to be on the bench. Just feels like you're just starting out so far behind. I mean, I don't know. I just have some issues building that way. So let's see. Man, receiver got gross. Holy moly. All right. That is not great. Not great for those of us trying to catch up at receiver. I'm just taking Cam Scatabo. You can't stop me. And before I windmill him in, maybe we stop at 4 running backs. We go Saquon, Taylor, Johnson, and Scatabo, and then we really just try to hammer receiver volume. I think Scatabo is definitely the pick. If Sharbs comes to me, then maybe I take Charbonnet there, and then I lean into like a late Seahawks backstack. Okay, that didn't happen there. Maybe if Tootin falls to me, I try to get a late T-Law, but no, T-Law won't be there with the next pick, so we can't really bank on that. I don't want to take another quarterback now. I think that is getting too cute by a half. Jonnu is interesting because then I really could lean into Aaron Rodgers being the third QB on this team. But yeah, as far as receivers go in this range, it is extremely grim. I have to confess. I do wonder where Jonnu ends up. It's possible he ends up around this 140 range, but I don't think he'll go in this draft just because of the kind of anchoring effects of ADP. All right. Now we'll just take Mims. I don't love Mims. I know I just took him last draft. Mims as a 4th receiver is pretty awful, in my opinion. You can't even backstack him. But spike week guy hopefully hits the lineup. I don't know what else I can say. This really might just be a hyper fragile 4 running back team. Although with Caleb and Scatabo as the 3 and 4, that might be a little less than we want to get. But again, we'll see if we can't land this plane. I think it's pronounced like shock. I thought it was show. That's what I had been hearing. But if it's Tyler Shock, then I'm in on it. But I don't think that's right, Dirty P. I think unfortunately it's like Tyler Show Me the Money. Something like that. I don't know. Hulk Smash Potatoes. GM. Thank you so much for coming by. One of the great usernames here on YouTube, and the shockingly green avatar is hard to miss. Dirty P and Hulk saying hello. Maybe it's Shug. I'm totally out. If it's Show, says Dirty P, I don't know, man. What about Shuck? Like shucking oysters? Could be. I know that's popular in New Orleans. So, if he's Tyler. Okay, so first of all, quid pro quo. Thank you so much for coming by. I don't think I've seen you in chat, so I love that. I love the idea that you've just been like a lurker like this whole time, and you're finally like, I can't take it anymore. It's Tyler Shock, and then just like, I'm never speaking again in this chat. But quid pro quo. Thank you so much for coming in and for being the the arbiter of the pronunciation. But yes, all right, Tyler Shuck. All right, I'm in on Shuck. Show, it's done. Dirty P, you have to tell us if you're in on Shuck or not. His name is Shuck, and he likes, well, yeah, I mean, oysters being a somewhat of a delicacy, certainly understandable. Shuck me your TD, or show me your TDs. Yeah, it sounds like it might be Shuck. I'm getting it on, Quid Pro Quo, who I did not know up until like a minute and a half ago. And now I just trust him. Like, no, he's right. Quid Pro Quo knows. We need clarification on New Orleans QB. All right, let's see what comes to us. I will take Jonnu Smith at 141 if he comes to us. CJ Stroud, I mean, I could backstack him with Noel, Michael Penix. Again, he could potentially be stacked with like a Ray McLeod. Cam Ward at 164. Let's see, where do we pick after this? We pick at 165. My goodness. All right, so we can try to push Ward. We'll see if that's possible. So yeah, Jonnu all the way now to 140. Let's see if CJ Noland can resist the temptation. No. All right, I'm just going to take Jonnu here. He's got to stop, he has a price, and to me this feels like where he's going to fall to. So I'm not considering like that I got some great ADP value, but what this will do is this will enable me to push Cam Ward and take Aaron Rodgers if I have to, or maybe even sort of prioritize Aaron Rodgers because I do have Caleb there. So I'm making a little bit of a bet on the Steelers offense there. Let's see what the room gives to us. Again, really trying to catch up at receiver on this team. Betch, Tillman, Leggett, I think these guys are all fine. I think taking one of them more than a Garendo Blue makes sense. Also, I like Josh Palmer here. I think, let's see. I think my preference is going to be Palmer and Leggett. And again, I'm not a bye week bro, but I do have 2 week 9 buys. And they're Tillman also week 9. Let's see if we can't get Palmer on this team. Pretty nice fall for Stroud. I wish I had some occasion to take him, but I do not. So we'll just add Josh Palmer to the team. Perfectly reasonable pick. I don't know that he really should be going like 20 plus picks after Marvin Mims, but that's where he goes. I think that's a reasonable enough price. So feel a little better about the wide receiver room after getting that pick. For the audio listeners, we are at 2-4-5-2 with Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields at QB. We have to add a third because they're both week 9 buys. Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatabo at running back room. So I absolutely love this running back room. I wish all my running back rooms looked like this. My wide receiver room, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Marvin Mims, Josh Palmer, so a little sketchy at receiver. And then George Kittle and Jonnu Smith at tight end. So interesting team so far, I'd have to say. I think we will stop this at 5 running backs, maybe stop at 2 tight ends, but we will see what the room gives to us. All right. The night drive calls us all. It does. The night drive does call to us. Dirty P, I could be in on show, but my brain wants to place the word clown before the word bad associate. Yeah, clown show. Yeah, not good. So we don't, it sounds like it's Shuck though. So we're probably good. He could be show me the money or show me the door. Well, yeah, let's hope he's good, right? I just want these quarterbacks to be good. The more good quarterbacks in the NFL, the better for all of us and for our, entertainment experience. The main reason people don't know how to pronounce his name is they don't actually watch football, sadly. Well, I wish I could watch more college football, James Young. It is tough. Every year I feel like I lose a sport, and I do not watch nearly as much college as I used to. And so hopefully going to be able to get back more into the college streets, because I do love college football, and it definitely helps prepare for a big board and BBM season to have a little more knowledge of the players coming in. Jonnu in a 2 tight end room feels bad now. No, that is That's probably too true, Greg. Oh yeah, but we're Dolphins fans, so now we can tell ourselves that he stinks and be like, yeah, oh Jonnu, yeah, you can't, yeah, you're not gonna win anything with that guy. What a bum. No, I am just kidding, but yeah, man, this is a nice falling Tua. Holy moly. I wish Jonnu was still on the Dolphins here. I think it's getting too cute to take Tua over Cam Ward. So we'll take Cam Ward. We've now managed to stack our top 3 receivers. Are we landing this plane, folks? Are we landing the plane? People are beginning to ask, is this the shipper? I don't know. I actually I like what's come together. I'm going to be honest. Here. I think this that makes me feel a lot better about the situation. Got a lot of QB firepower, tons of running back firepower. And now we just need to get there with our receivers, and we're in good shape. All right, let's see what comes to us. Jalen Wright, he's Wright and Dowdle, I think, are kind of the end of a tier of running back for me. Alec Pierce, certainly, I like at receiver. I think he makes a certain amount of sense. Interesting choice here. If I get to the next tier of running back, it's almost pure contingent upside, but maybe I'm okay with that with the 4 that I have. But I do really like Braylon Allen as well, pairing with Fields. I think Braylon Allen is just the pick, and then we'll just end this with five running backs. Tempted by Alec Pierce, but we'll try to grab another few late receivers to close this out. With Cam Ward, there are a lot of different late receivers you can go with, whether it's Iomanor, Restrepo, or Lockett. It makes it difficult to pick, in my opinion, which of those receivers. So kind of just take a bunch of different ones. Tez Johnson, a possible, really late dart throw for Baker. He's been getting some good camp buzz, but is also, very live to be a stone 0. So, and then there just is no receiver for the Jets. It is, if you look at the Jets, I mean, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Arian Smith, Malachi Corley, these guys are just completely stone free, not taken. Maybe you could convince me that Josh Reynolds would be live to be draftable. I don't know. I haven't even considered taking him, but he's probably the number 2 there. Now, obviously, the number 2 in an offense we expect to not pass very much and is really going to, be led by the running game and Garrett Wilson. I don't know how much Josh Reynolds I want to take, but, I guess if you were really opposed to taking a quarterback naked and you had Fields, you could add him, but I haven't even heard his name the entire summer here. Mike Robb says, announcers say players' name differently all the time because you watch more than you know. Pronouncing names more is laughable and a weird thing to be arrogant about. Well, I don't know about, I don't think he was trying to be I don't think anyone was trying to be arrogant about it. I think it's one of those points of pride, I suppose. It's always hard to tell tone and context on here. Dirty Pete lives in Louisville. I think I've pronounced it like shock or shuck around here. Show is not a pronunciation I've heard. It does sound like it is shuck. That is the leader in the clubhouse here. Dude played for Louisville, right? James Young is right. I never watched the kid. Wake up. Happy CA Day. Chris Negus, thank you so much for coming by this morning. I don't know what CA Day is, but I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having fun. It is July 1st. Very is it it's not Canada Day. I thought that was later in the year. I don't know, Chris. Let me know what CA Day is, and I'll see if it's something I'm interested in celebrating. Let's see. Speaking of celebrating, let's look at getting Chig on this team. Oh, Canada Day. Awesome, Chris. Well, happy Canada Day. I'm actually going to Canmore in a few weeks, so I'm excited. I've been up there before. Absolutely beautiful. Canmore, Banff, Jasper. Absolutely incredible part of the country. But let's just take Kate Otten. I think Kate Otten makes a little more sense than Chig here. And then we've got Baker, so now we get a little bit of a Baker double stack, and we will take Chig out of the queue, and then let's see if we can get Darius Slayton. I think Darius Slayton would be a nice add to the team. We cannot get Darius Slayton. He goes. Dante Thornton, interesting play. Tyler Lockett for the stack, but I really feel like Yoshivas is someone that I've come around to. They do manufacture touches for him. Has a little bit of he's shown some upside. They've shown that they're very comfortable with him. They didn't add a third receiver to the room in Cincinnati like a lot of us were expecting. Jermaine Burton got a little bit of positive speak early in the cycle, but it sounds like so did Yoshivas. So again, we're trying to catch up a little bit here with receiver, and I think he is a perfectly reasonable pick. So we have a 3-5-6-3 with Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Cam Ward at quarterback, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterbo, Braylon Allen at running back, wide receiver room of Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Marvin Mims, Josh Palmer, and Andre Yoshivas, in a tight end room of Kittle, Jonnu, and Cade Otten. Awesome. I like the team. I like the way this team has come together, and we'll see if we can't find one final receiver that we are in on here. Play Kanakassis, Best Value Golf Course, or Stewart Creek, Banff Springs, more money. Yeah, I would love to get some golf. I'm going with my wife and our 2-year-old, so it will be tough for me to escape long enough to play golf. But I do want to play it one day. I will be excited. Highly recommend Kanakassis if you can only get to one. Awesome. Well, Chris, I would have to cash in a lot of goodwill to make that happen on this trip, but we'll see if I can swing it. But I gotta say it's about a plus 1,200 proposition right now. I do hear Kanakassis is the place to go if you want to see moose, and I do want to see a moose with antlers because I've seen mama mooses, but I've never seen a moose with antlers, and so I'm hoping that it's that's really where I need to go, because that's the word on the street anyway. Is They like the kind of more wet areas, and I hear that's what's going on over in Kanakassis, other than apparently a awesome golf course. So maybe it is Tyler Lockett. If Tyler Lockett goes, let's see. Man, I do not like this range when I'm trying to stack. When I'm trying to stack the Titans, it feels like a choose your own adventure of just like pure mediocrity. All right, there goes Lockett. I'm going to add another guy that I am pretty in on in a bye week I don't have, in Martez Valdez-Scantling. I don't really have much going on in this Seattle game. This isn't any kind of Week 17 thing, but I do think MVS is going to have a role over there. And as an 8th receiver, I think he's a perfectly reasonable add, and somebody that I don't think is. I think he's pretty locked in to not be a stone zero. So everyone, thank you so much for coming by. I had so much fun today. I did not once ask you to like and subscribe, which was probably a mistake. So please, if you have not liked and subscribed, I would truly appreciate it. I had so much fun streaming with all of you. I am going to hop off. There goes the draft. But again, I guess I've done 53 BBMs, and we will be doing these all summer long. Again, thank you so much for coming by, hanging out. Chris says elk, bears, moose, rams are all around. I'd be surprised if you don't see them all, even in the town of Canmore. It's a bit smaller than Banff and has some cool coffee shops. Well, Chris, I will message you and ask for those recommendations because I'd love to hear them. So again, thank you all so much for coming by this morning. Had a really fun stream with you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.